Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Pragmatic Bodybuilding. This is a space where I take a sensible and realistic approach to all things bodybuilding that's grounded in practicality and experience, not just theory. And in this video, I want to talk about something that's been on my mind for a few good decades now, and that's quality volume. I wrote this script ahead of time so I can read it to you as I'm doing now, so it's clear and focused. But as always, I'm going to do my best to keep it real, honest. So over the years, a lot of people have pointed out that my training volume looks pretty low compared to what's often promoted out there. And honestly, I get it. From the outside, it probably does seem that way. But what I think it's overlooked is where I'm at in my journey in terms of both experience and skill level. I like to think of it in martial arts terms. When you start training, you're a white belt. You're learning movement, control, and discipline. As you improve, you move through the ranks: white, yellow, orange, green, blue, purple, brown, and eventually black. But here's the thing, even once you reach black belt status, there are still levels beyond that: first degree, second degree, third degree, and so on. That's exactly how I see my training. At this point in my career, I'm not just executing movements, I'm refining them. I've built the ability to stay in control, rep after rep, set after set, with real intention. My skill level is like being a black belt, and honestly, probably even beyond that. Every set I do is high level work, so while the volume may look low, the quality is extremely high, and that's why it works so well for me. So with that said, today I want to break down what I mean by quality volume and show you how to develop it in your own training, no matter what level you're at. To me, it's not just about the number of sets you're doing, it's about what you're actually doing with those sets. Every set has to meet a certain standard. And here's what I look for. First, the form has to be consistent. Every rep, from the first to the last, should be standardized. That doesn't mean it's easy, but it means you're in control. If rep 1 is smooth and tight, and rep 10 looks like a struggle bus, that's a sign the quality broke down somewhere. Next, I want to see a pain-free full range of motion, one that's appropriate for your structure. Not some textbook version or what an outside influencer says on Instagram, but a range that feels stable and strong for you. You're not chasing an arbitrary stretch for the sake of it. You're chasing control and connection. You should be able to move through the range of motion without any discomfort and without compensating your form. And finally, effort matters a lot. You need to be getting close to failure or reaching failure depending on the movement. I'm not talking about taking a barbell back squat to failure. That's far more risky, but for things like curls, laterals, or calf raises, just to name a few of many, those are much safer to push on. So in a sense, more of the isolation type exercises are where you want to explore that intensity. And this whole concept of proximity to failure, that's something I break down more in a video called The Best Rep Range in my Pragmatic Bodybuilding series. Check that out if you want to dive deeper into how rep range and failure work together. Imagine I hand you 10 darts and tell you to hit a bullseye. Most people are just going to throw and hope for the best. They might get close, maybe hit the bullseye once or twice, but most of the darts miss the board completely. And from a percentage standpoint, that's really, really low. We're talking 10 to 20% success rate, and that's not very efficient. That's the approach I want all my bodybuilders to take with training. Don't just do more and hope it works. Learn to do less. Learn to be more efficient in order to make every set count. I recommend starting with 4 to 8 sets per body part per week, especially if you're early on in your journey or if you're one whose execution still needs a lot of refinement. Now, I know for some of you that might sound like it's not enough to build muscle, and I get that. It's natural to want to see growth and feel like you need to do more to get it. But here's the thing. If you're doing more volume without the skill to back it up, it's not efficient and it's not truly effective volume either. Downshifting to a smaller dose, something like 4 to 8 quality sets, gives you space to focus on skill. And that's what unlocks better results faster in the long run. You're laying down a solid foundation that will support more productive volume later. You're not holding yourself back, you're setting yourself up. This is where you focus on skill development, specifically your ability to move a load from point A to point B with control and consistency. This should be the focus for 1 to 2 full training blocks, however long that takes in your structure until that movement quality is fully dialed in. Choose weights you can control, and I mean truly control. That means no bouncing, no sloppy reps, no shortcuts. Now let's address rep cadence, the time it takes to complete the reps. I'm not asking you to time every rep with a stopwatch, but in general, you want a slower eccentric, about 3 to 4 seconds. In a sense, what you're doing is resisting gravity a bit. Then pause briefly in the stretch position, 1 to 2 seconds. Control the concentric and pause again. What this does is force you to own the movement. It keeps the weight humble and it reinforces good habits. If you can make that style of lifting feel natural and repeatable, rep after rep, set after set, then you're on the right track. And once you reach that point, you can remove the pauses. You don't need them forever, but only drop them once you know your movement stays crisp without them. Once your movement is dialed in, it's time to begin developing your ability to push close to failure, but in a structured, progressive way. For the next 1 to 2 training blocks, your goal is to train to technical failure, meaning you're stopping the set when your form begins to break down. This teaches you how to push hard while keeping movement quality intact and ensures you're keeping yourself on the safer side. Again, only apply this to safer exercises such as an isolation type movement and reserve it for the last set of the movement only so as to not cause excessive fatigue. After that, your next 1 to 2 training blocks should be focused on learning how to reach absolute failure, where your form stays intact but you physically cannot move the load any longer. This should still be applied to safe, controlled isolation exercises like arm work, lateral raises, or calves, and again, only on the final set to manage fatigue. And this is where the mental side comes in. As the set gets harder, especially those final reps, discomfort rises naturally. The burn kicks in, anxiety creeps up, and everything in your body starts telling you to stop. In that moment, you have to slow yourself down, stay composed, and focus on executing the rep, not reacting to the discomfort. You're in that fight or flight zone, and your job is to fight with total control. It's about owning your body, calming your mind, and finishing the rep with intent. Each phase is going to build on the last, first developing control, then layering in effort, all without compromising your form. That's how you earn the right to layer in progressions to truly work towards sustained progress. Once you've got form and effort locked in, now you can start thinking about progression. There are all kinds of progression models out there, but one I really like, especially for those still dialing things in, is double progression. Let's say your rep range is 8 to 10 reps. You start with 3 sets of 8. Over the next few sessions, you try to add 1 rep to each set until you can get all 3 sets with that load for 10 reps with clean, consistent form for 1 to 3 consecutive sessions. That means you've mastered that load and you've earned the right to bump the weight up conservatively. Start back at 3 sets of 8 with a new load to ensure the quality remains high. It's simple, it's clean, and it gives you room to refine your form while still pushing performance forward. That's what makes it such a powerful progression tool, especially when quality is your priority. Eventually, you'll hit a point where you're wondering, do I need to add more sets? And the answer is, it depends. If your performance is still improving, meaning your loads are going up, your reps are increasing, and you're recovering well, just stay the course. You're already increasing your volume through progression. But if you're stalled, then we have to figure out why. There are usually two reasons. One, fatigue is the issue. You're not recovering. You're tired, flat, maybe even a little beat up. In this case, don't add more work. Add rest and or fuel, not sets. In fact, you might actually need to reduce set volume. That might also mean sleeping more, eating more, taking extra recovery days, or even allowing your body weight to come up a bit. And if you do need to reduce your set volume, don't think of it as regressing. Think of it as resetting your baseline. You're still training, so you're not going to lose muscle or strength. But now that the recovery demand is lower, your body can catch up. And if that improves your performance, you're actually increasing your volume relative to this new baseline. That's still meaningful progress, and it's a much more sustainable way to move forward. Second reason, adaptation is the issue. You're recovering fine, you feel good, you're just stuck. That's when a small bump in volume might help. So adding just 1 to 2 sets per body part per week might do the trick. Stick with it for at least 4 weeks and assess data, not your feelings. And by data, I mean, are your loads and reps starting to increase again? Are you seeing measurable or visual changes in your physique? Don't base decisions on insecurities, impatience, or fear of not progressing fast enough. Let the hard data tell you whether the adjustment is working, not your emotions in the moment. So to wrap this all up, quality volume isn't about chasing more for the sake of doing more. It's about good direction. It's about becoming far more efficient, getting more by doing less. You don't necessarily need to do the high end of a recommended set range, like 20 sets per muscle, to grow, especially if most of those sets aren't on point. But if you can make 4 to 8 sets truly count, if you can move with intention, if you can train close to or to failure with absolute control, that's potentially where your progress lives. You potentially might need to do more volume though to get the most out of your physique, but only by going through the step-by-step approach I've talked about across this video will you truly know if you actually need to do more or not. I've been training across 5 decades now, and what's made the biggest difference hasn't been doing more, it's been developing more skill. Over time, I've reached a place where my training feels sharp, deliberate, and fully under control. I'm not just showing up, I'm present in every set, every rep. At this stage, I'd say I'm operating at a black belt level, maybe even a few steps beyond that. Because at its core, bodybuilding is about skill development, and when you approach it step by step, something else happens. With each step, you build confidence, and that confidence starts to replace the insecurities, the fear of not progressing fast enough, and the overeagerness to do more before you're really even ready. Trying to leap from white belt to black belt all at once doesn't just skip the learning, it creates unnecessary stress, pressure, and self-doubt. But when you earn each step, the process becomes clear, more rewarding, and far more sustainable. We're not just chasing progress, we're working toward self-mastery, and that's the real goal. If you got something out of this video, please like it, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, please drop them down below. And let's try to keep this space positive and respectful, a place where we can uplift one another, learn from one another, and grow together. That's how we make the sport better and how we keep getting better ourselves. Hope you guys got a lot out of this. Have a great weekend, and we'll try to see you guys next week.